Cassie Dawson had never been to a city bigger than Wichita, but her mind lived in galaxies far beyond the Kansas skies. She spent her childhood surrounded by wheat fields and rusted machinery, but she didn't complain. Every day on her family's farm offered something new to tinker with: an old generator, a busted radio, even a broken-down drone someone tossed at a garage sale. While her classmates in town cared about football games and prom dresses, Cassie stayed up late watching rocket launches, reading space physics forums, and coding her own flight simulations on a second-hand laptop. Her biggest dream: to get into an elite college and eventually work for NASA. By her senior year of high school, she had applied to every top engineering program she could think of: MIT, Stanford, Caltech, and even some smaller competitive schools. Her grades were solid, her SAT scores excellent, but she lacked the polish that many applicants had. No advanced lab work, no internships, no summer tech camps. Her lab was a dusty barn. Her mentor was a retired mechanic who helped her rewire tractor batteries for science experiments. But what she did have was passion. She poured her heart into her application essays, writing about how she reverse-engineered a drone's GPS, built a basic wind tunnel from scrap parts, and learned coding languages from free online courses while juggling farm chores. The rejections came in slowly at first, then all at once. One email after another, each one a polite variation of the same message. "We regret to inform you." But the letter from her dream school, MIT, stung the most. They thanked her for her unique background, but noted that their program required students with more formal academic exposure in structured environments. It was the kind of carefully worded sentence that tried to sound kind, but it hit her like a punch to the stomach. Cassie sat alone in the barn, surrounded by tools and parts, clutching the rejection letter. She didn't cry. She just stared at the floor for a long time. Then she stood up, grabbed a spiral notebook, and wrote 2 words in all caps across the top page: "Build anyway." From that day forward, Cassie threw herself into a new project: a rocket. Not a toy model, not a science fair demo, but a real, functioning, high-altitude rocket capable of collecting flight data and transmitting it back to her laptop. She sketched out designs, calculated thrust-to-weight ratios, and watched hours of aerospace engineering videos online. She pulled parts from scrapyards, used old farm equipment for materials, and printed components at the library's tiny 3D printer. She scavenged batteries, wiring, and sensors from broken electronics and tested everything on her own. Her father, supportive but skeptical, watched her transform the barn into a space lab. He didn't always understand what she was doing, but he saw her eyes light up every time a test succeeded, even when many failed. Her little brother called it NASA in a barn. By early summer, the rocket was complete. 6 feet tall, painted white with blue stripes, and fitted with a Raspberry Pi flight controller and telemetry system Cassie coded from scratch. She named it Second Chance. On launch day, a few neighbors, her dad, her science teacher, and a local reporter showed up. Cassie stood by the launch pad, holding the controller in trembling hands. After a deep breath, she counted down 3, 2, 1, and pressed the button. The rocket ignited and soared into the sky, straight and steady. Everyone gasped as it disappeared into the clouds. Data streamed onto her laptop: altitude, acceleration, pressure. The parachute deployed, and the rocket landed a few hundred yards away, intact. Everyone clapped. Cassie smiled, not realizing yet that the video her brother had just uploaded was already going viral. And in just 48 hours, someone from NASA would see it. Cassie didn't think much of the video her little brother had posted. He had filmed the entire launch and casually uploaded it with the caption, "My sister got rejected by every top college, so she built her own rocket." At first, it got a few likes from friends and neighbors, but by the next morning, it had exploded online. Hundreds of thousands of views. Comments poured in from engineers, science teachers, tech influencers, and complete strangers, all amazed by what she had accomplished. By the end of the day, it had over 2 million views. Tech blogs began writing articles about her. "Farm girl builds real rocket in a barn," one headline read. A well-known science YouTuber reposted the video and called her a young Elon Musk with grit. She was overwhelmed by the attention, but then came the email that changed her life. The subject line read, "NASA, we'd like to speak with you." Cassie stared at her screen for several minutes, unable to move. She read the message 3 times before calling her dad over. It was real. A propulsion engineer from NASA's Johnson Space Center, Dr. Elena Price, had seen the video and wanted to set up a call. She said Cassie's project demonstrated exceptional initiative, systems thinking, and real-world engineering skills. She even asked for her blueprints. Cassie got on a video call with Dr. Price 2 days later. Nervous and sweaty in her best plaid shirt, she explained how she had designed the rocket, how she tested the software, how she solved problems with limited resources. Dr. Price didn't interrupt once. She just smiled and nodded, clearly impressed. At the end of the call, she said something Cassie would never forget. "You didn't just build a rocket," she said. "You built your way into the conversation. We'd like to invite you to Johnson Space Center to meet with our team. And we've already contacted a university partner about sponsoring your education." Cassie's jaw dropped. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Dr. Price said, "we're offering you a full ride. You'll work with us during summers, study during the year, and be mentored by real aerospace professionals. Welcome to your new future." Cassie couldn't hold back the tears. Her dream had come back to life, not through a college admissions letter, but through sheer determination and one homemade rocket. Within a week, Cassie was flying to Houston. It was her first time on a plane. When she arrived at NASA, she walked through the massive complex in awe, touching the walls like they were made of gold. Engineers and scientists greeted her, many of whom had already seen her rocket video. They asked her questions about thrust curves, stabilization techniques, telemetry, and more. She answered with calm confidence, surprising even herself. She toured labs, met teams working on real Mars missions, and saw prototype lunar landers. In one lab, she found herself standing next to a small rocket engine. Dr. Price leaned in and said, "Think you could make one of these better someday?" Cassie smiled. "I can try." That night, back on the farm, her dad stood beside her in the barn. The rocket she'd built, Second Chance, was now mounted on the wall like a trophy. Her acceptance to the partnered university had just come through. Full scholarship, dual mentorship with NASA engineers. She'd gone from rejected applicant to the girl who made the world notice. Her story wasn't just about a rocket, it was about grit, belief, and building doors where none existed. Cassie Dawson hadn't just aimed for the stars. She found a way to reach them.